All right, so today we're going to talk about catching and working on catching. There's a lot involved, and actually I have a blog post that published today that talks about this, so the link is in our bio, so go check it out. And so one of the things we do is we kind of use a progression of balls when we're working on this. And we kind of go from easiest to hardest to catch. And we start with like this kind of a deflated Gertie ball because like they can grab onto it. Then we go to a more inflated Gertie ball because it's a little bit bigger. They're using two hands. Then we found these balls, they're great. They're like little, I don't know, rubber sports balls. So they're kind of softer. You can get a good grip on them. Then as we get smaller, we'll sometimes throw in the O ball because they can get their fingers in or use the loops to help catch. Next, like we'll use a wiffle ball if we have them, or this is like a really squishy baseball, but like we're starting to work on like that more one-handed. And then finally we will go to the tennis ball. And a lot of times we'll have them lined up like this because we'll set up two spots starting at about 5 feet apart, and that will slowly increase as they get more proficient. And we'll say, okay, we're gonna try to catch 10 in a row, and when we get to 10, then we get to go to the next ball. And so kind of making it a game like that, and adding the counting in helps to keep the focus, because that's one of the challenges is they have to stay focused on what they're doing in order to catch the ball, because if they're not visually attending and they're not focused, it's a lot harder to catch it. So anything we can do with like counting, the visual spot like helps to give them a place to stand so they're not worried about that. You know, making sure you have eye contact, giving them a reason to get through it. And then the other thing that we have that for kids that are struggling with even focusing or visually attending, you know, and they're not quite ready for that grasping, we have these, which is great because it gives you a lot broader of a base, so they don't have to worry about the hand skills, but they can work on just trying to visually attend and time the reactions to catching the ball. Okay, the other thing to consider is that underhand throws are much easier to catch than overhand throws. So you always want to start with those. And now how you decide to progress it, whether you want to progress underhand to overhand with just one ball or you want to get better with going smaller, that's up to you. You also might need to sometimes literally stand right in front of the child, so not even the 5 feet, and be like catch and drop it into their hands. But just so you can see, so an underhand catch, and so they might catch with two hands, they might trap against their body, and the goal is to get it so that they're eventually going to catch with just, go ahead, they're going to catch with just one hand for this ball because you can grab onto it. Another ball that's a little bit different, you might not be able to, they might not be able to do with one hand, but see, this has less give, so they have to work on catching it here versus always trapping it. I can hold it with one hand. But then tennis ball, which is the smallest one that we use, oh dear, they have to really focus for that. And then going to overhand, you would kind of go through the same progression, but again, you probably want to start slower, and it ends up being a little bit of a toss as opposed to an actual throw, because they get nervous when they see you throwing something at them as opposed to a toss, and then you can work it up to a toss or a throw.
Ew. Okay, ready? Catch. One. Oh, okay. Good job. Good job. Throw back. One more.